New developments tonight. Georgia, ground zero for the debate over voting rights. The U.S. Senate Rules Committee holding what they called a field meeting for the first time in 20 years. Normally they had them in Washington, D.C. This field meeting right here in Atlanta. Democrats stressing the need for federal voting legislation. CBS 46's Ashley Thompson was at the hearing, and she's live at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. Ashley.
Rick, the hearing lasted about 2 hours, and they touched on everything from long polling lines to new voting legislation. Noticeably absent, though, were Republicans, who were often the target of the criticism. A rare field hearing over voting rights and restrictions. Senator Amy Klobuchar kicking things off.
We're here today in Atlanta to shine a spotlight on what has been happening in Georgia and in states around the country to undermine the freedom to vote.
The U.S. Senate Rules Committee meeting at the Center for Civil and Human Rights to discuss possible voter hurdles post SB 202. Senator Raphael Warnock testified, saying the new law denies certain people access to the ballot box.
Over the last year, Georgia has become ground zero for the sweeping voter suppression efforts we've seen gain momentum all across our country.
Senator Jon Ossoff echoing those concerns.
Our state legislature has persisted in advancing legislation designed to gain a partisan advantage by making it harder to vote by mail, by restricting access to early voting in runoff elections.
Voting rights activist Helen Butler told lawmakers people of color will be most impacted by the changes, referencing the number of minorities who voted absentee last year.
Certainly it was people of color, African Americans, Asian, Latino, that really used that method to vote because of the pandemic.
We were able to handle those 3 hours standing in line, but we know that not everybody can.
As a number of states pass new voting laws, Democrats are calling for federal voting rights legislation, but Republicans are pushing back.
Democrats are holding bogus hearings to try to demonize election integrity laws.
Though no Republicans attended today's field hearing, many of them, including Governor Brian Kemp, are firing back at Democrats over what was discussed.
It's obvious Democrats still have not actually read SB 202. Because if they had, they would know the new law expands access to early voting, ensures drop boxes are available in every county, and implements a voter ID requirement for absentee ballots.
Now, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger also put out a statement today on Facebook, writing, quote, D.C. politicians have come to Georgia to try and force a federal elections takeover. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is in Atlanta today, has pushed the lie that Stacey Abrams' election was stolen to support the elections takeover. She must be held accountable. Certainly much more on this developing story to come. For now, I'm live in Atlanta. Ashley Thompson, CBS 46 News.
Ashley, thank you. And right